Yeah, so everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Annalise. I am an enrollment advisor here at TEFL Institute. I am generally on the phones, on the live chats, etc. So I get to speak to a lot of you who are possibly interested in our internship programs or just our courses or course first and then going for an internship program. So this today we actually have a very full packed program for you guys. So we have 4 interns all together today that will be sharing their stories about their internship programs, which they're on with us. At the moment, we are just waiting for one girl. She will be a little bit later. She will be speaking about South Korea at the end, but today we'll be speaking to Shannon. Shannon is currently in Vietnam. She has also taught in South Korea before. So I'll be speaking to her about Vietnam. So, and then we are moving to Kate, who is currently in Japan. So she is also very excited to give us all her stories about that. Next is Ashley Rose. You might have actually seen her already as well. She's quite active on, like, she sends us loads of updates about her time in Thailand. So you might have seen her on our social medias. But she is here with us again as well to tell us a little bit more in person about her program. And then lastly is Katie for South Korea, further in depth. And obviously we have a little bit of background from Shannon that we can get as well. So first things first, Asian internship programs. So we have a few of them listed on our websites, which are obviously very popular ones, which is why we have so many lovely people that are on them and why we can get a lot of feedback on it as well. So what is the favorite thing for me about Asian internships is obviously the landscapes. There are so many, there's either sun and beach, or there is mountains, forests, all that good stuff. Obviously the cultural differences personally excite me as well, just to see how different it can be, work ethics wise, those kind of things. And then obviously the food. I personally would be a sucker for Asian cuisine. So with the prices that they are offering it, absolutely fantastic. So as I said, we have a very full schedule. So I am going to not waste any time and move over to Shannon. So Shannon, like I said, is on the Vietnam program at the moment. So this is a 12-month program, where the current salary would be between 1,000 to 65 euros to 1,600 euros per month. There is TEFL training included in the package that she booked on. There was an orientation, so I'd love to hear a little bit about that. You were meant to get Vietnamese lessons as well, so I'd love to know how well that is going for you as well. So the requirements for this program is you are to be between 20 to 50 years of age. So this is one of the programs that is a lot more flexible when it comes to applicants that are a little bit more adult, which is absolutely great to have as an option. They do require you to be a native speaker or at least have a high level of a C1 of English. You have to have a passport from Ireland, UK, USA, Canada, South Africa, Australia, or New Zealand. A bachelor's degree is also a must, and you need to be healthy and have a clean criminal record. So this is just for anyone that would be interested, to keep that in mind. And for Shannon, then I would love to know why you chose to do this experience with us.
Sure. So back during COVID, I was working in the travel industry. So obviously, things got disrupted, and I had always wanted to be a teacher, and I kind of felt, okay, this is the time. I can do it anywhere in the world. So I did a TEFL with TEFL Institute of Ireland. I did the 180-hour level 5 certificate TEFL and decided to go to South Korea for a year. And I absolutely loved it. I loved every moment of it. And I was really considering staying on in South Korea longer than the year, but I kind of want to live in as many different countries as I can. So I decided it's time to move and try somewhere else. I can always go back to Korea if I want to. So myself and my husband, he came with me, and we both decided to come to Vietnam. And we went back home to Ireland for a month and then came over to Vietnam in November of last year. And we are absolutely loving it. So we're here teaching at a language center. So you have 2 options in Vietnam. You can teach at a public school or a language center. And we decided on the language center simply for the hours. Our current full-time schedule is 21 hours a week, teaching hours. That does not include lesson planning, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Our center has a lot of resources for us, so we don't have to lesson plan too extensively. And we're right in Ho Chi Minh City. We have an amazing apartment that we had to get, not included, where in Korea, your apartment is included. Vietnam, it is not. And yeah, we're both teaching at the same center. We work nights and weekends, and we teach children ages 3 to like 15.
Very good, very good. And how did you find the first few months there? Did you obviously you had your experience with working in South Korea, so you might have kind of had an idea what you were getting yourself into as such, but was there anything specific that stood out in your experience of starting there?
Well, we did the orientation, and I am so glad that we did, because we didn't get one in Korea. We were kind of just thrown into it because of COVID. We couldn't gather, so we couldn't do an orientation. And we thought, we've done a year in Korea. We know everything. We know Asia. No. The countries are so different. So we decided to do the orientation, and it was an amazing week. It was so valuable. It was 5 days, from about 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m. of just history of Vietnam, culture, language lessons, excursions, and we're still very close friends with some of the people in our orientation as well, which helped a lot. And it really prepared us, because Vietnam was a big culture shock. It's an interesting country in that it's on its way into developing into a first world nation, but it's not there yet. And I had never been anywhere that wasn't first world. So just getting used to the traffic and the smells and the sounds and the construction and the chaos, it really helped having that orientation and having the support of TEFL when we were going through the documents and the process of booking and the interviews, and just knowing that we had the support system there was so valuable. And we've leaned on TEFL a lot, and we appreciate you guys so much, because it's very scary to move across the world, and you have a different language and a different culture. And as a teacher, your job, it's not isolating in any way, but you're working with kids all day, not adults. And so you can kind of feel disconnected. So it's really amazing to have the support from the TEFL Institute of Ireland and the partners.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. So would you say your advice is kind of to keep asking those questions, or do you have any other specific advice for any new teachers?
I would lean on your center, lean on do the orientation week, 100%. It helped so much. They even did lesson planning activities. We taught at a charity school, so you kind of got a taste of teaching before you were stepping foot into a classroom. And feel free to always reach out. There's a big network of teachers here. There's, TEFL you can reach out to. The partners are amazing. They're in Vietnam and Korea and Thailand, everywhere that you need. There's a lot of support around you. So don't feel like if you don't know what you're doing, you have to just figure it out. You can ask a ton of people who are more than happy to help you.
Yeah, very good, very good. Especially exactly like, don't be afraid to ask those questions. You're not alone, I suppose, is a very good point to take out of that. And what would be your most enjoyable thing about teaching English? And would there be a difference between the South Korea and Vietnam program for you?
Yeah, so I love teaching English. I love teaching children. It is so much fun, and you can be silly and you can sing and dance, and watching them learn and develop their language skills and go from barely being able to say hello to you to being able to tell you about things that they did on the weekend it's just incredible, and it's very rewarding. And you really see, as like speaking with locals here, how important learning English is just for their own higher education, for their own job opportunities. So you do feel like you're making a difference as an English teacher. And in terms of the classroom, I find Vietnam very different to South Korea. South Korea was very intense, very structured, a lot of book work. They take studying very seriously. Where in Vietnam, the classes are longer, but it's a lot more playing, a lot more games and songs, a lot less book work and homework. And neither structure is better, they're just different.
Very good. Very good. That's interesting to know as well, that little bit of difference between them. So then I kind of want to lastly also ask you, what would you what do you love most about Vietnam, and why or would you recommend this program to anyone else? What reasons would there be for it?
So I love the work-life balance here. I mean, we work from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and that's our full work day. And so I have the whole day to kind of, exercise or read or work on projects, but I'm still making a full-time salary. I'm still working full-time. And Vietnam has amazing food, really affordable fruit, like fresh smoothies and coconuts. And that was a hard thing in Korea. Fruit's very expensive. I don't know why, but it's so expensive. So having
Katie's agreeing with you.
yeah, oh my gosh, a thing of strawberries was $15. But in Vietnam, the fruit's very fresh, very local, and it's a very relaxed environment here. Like kind of, nobody takes anything too seriously, which is very nice.
Very good. That's lovely. Thank you so much for coming on today anyway and telling us a little bit about Vietnam. Guys, I actually forgot to mention that if there is any questions, by all means, you're more than welcome to put them in the question box here. And at the end, we'll have a little bit of a Q&A session. So if it's for a specific person, by all means, mention their name. But we'll go through them then anyway at the end. So next up, we are going to move to Kate, who is in the lovely Japan. She's only been there a little while. But she is, as far as we know, absolutely loving it, but we'll find out more. So a little bit about the package that she booked onto. So again, it's a 12-month program with us. The salary ranges from 1,550 euros to 2,150 euros. There's again a cultural orientation included. It's not exactly the same as Vietnam, but there is still an orientation. TEFL training is included, as we always do. And accommodation assistance is in there as well. So the requirements for our Japan program is that you do need to be between the ages of 21 to 40. You do need to be a native English speaker. If you are not, they do require you to have at least 12 years of English schooling. So that is, or schooling in English, I should say. You need to be a passport holder of one of the 7 countries, the same as Vietnam. So Ireland, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the US, and then obviously a bachelor's degree again is required, and you need to be kind of flexible with this program when it comes to your preferences for location. And obviously, of course, again, being healthy for both mentally and physically, as well as a clean criminal record. So for Kate as well, kind of basically the similar question. So basically, why and how did you get to join us on this program, and how are you finding it?
Hi everyone, so good to see so many people here. So I basically joined TEFL Ireland's internship after I finished university. I graduated last year and, like many people, wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do next. I wasn't really ready to go into sort of the big girl job world. So I really wanted to travel. So landing on a TEFL just seemed like the perfect option for me. There's so much out there in terms of TEFL degrees and options that it can be kind of overwhelming. But I really liked the TEFL Institute of Ireland's sort of hands-on approach to helping you. Like, they literally just give you a call at anytime you want and can explain everything to you in like a really personalized way. So that just really sold it to me. It just seemed like a much more personalized service. And I also I was quite set on going to Japan, and I saw that they had a Japan specific internship. So I was like, this is just ideal. So I just signed up, like no questions asked. And I was so glad I did, because everything just worked out really, really well. So the TEFL degree I did was the 120-hour one, which is completely remote. You can do it in your own time, I think within 6 months. And I also got 2 add-on smaller courses, like they're both 30-hour ones for advanced grammar and teaching young learners, which are both really, really helpful and just have like really laid the groundwork for my teaching now. So yeah, definitely couldn't recommend them more. It's been really good.
Very good. So, and how did you find, because obviously you're only there a little while, you've been there about a month, you said. So how are you finding your first month teaching in Japan? Is it everything you expected and more, or is it you didn't know what to expect? Where did you go from it?
Yeah, so like I felt like the whole run up to moving here, I was like following loads of pages on Instagram and like had seen so many like TikToks about like what to expect in Japan. And while some of it is real, some like it just has exceeded so much expectations. Like Japan is just the most incredible clash of everything. Like there's like I live quite close to Tokyo, so that is just like mind-bogglingly incredibly big and amazing. And there's so much to it. Like if you aren't a big city person, there's parts of it that feel like you're in a town and they feel quite like, you know, local, which is really nice. And then there's also like the amazing areas like Shibuya and Shinjuku and everything. So yeah, Japan is just incredible. Like there's something for everyone. Like in about 40 minutes from here, I can be at like a surfing area with like loads of beaches, and Mount Fuji is quite close by. So it's just amazing. And in terms of teaching, I only started in the last 2 weeks. So I'm still very much settling in, but the school is really lovely. I'm teaching in a public school, which I've personally heard is the best option, and they're kind of more reliable and the hours tend to be a bit more fair. And so my hours are really nice, and there's nothing to do with like I haven't felt the whole Japan work culture really at all here. I work from 8:30 till 3:20, and I get an hour's break. And that also includes lesson planning time and I have about 3 classes every day, which are about 50 minutes long. And I work as an assistant language teacher. So I'm with a Japanese English teacher. So I'm really supported in that way. Like I'm not in any way out on my own, which works for me because I'm a first time TEFL teacher. So yeah, I'm loving the work so far. The students are really fun. They're a lot more kind of energetic and enthusiastic than I expected. I thought they'd be a bit more kind of subdued and very like respectful, which they are, but they are really fun as well, which is good crack. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
I suppose they're kind of as curious about you as you were about them in a way, is it?
Absolutely. They're just baffled. They didn't even know what Ireland was. When they were like, what's that? And then they thought Europe was America and stuff. So
Oh
it's
gosh.
really nice feeling like you're actually broadening their horizons. And as an ALT, like nearly 50% of your work is to be like a cultural ambassador and to help to broaden their horizons, because a lot of young Japanese people have never left Japan and don't really see much beyond their own kind of prefecture and area. So it's really nice to kind of expose them to things that are outside of their own kind of world. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's very good. So then to kind of move on, so what like and kind of building on that, so what would be your favorite about teaching there? Like is it the curiosity of your students, or is there something else that would really stand out to you?
Yeah, the curiosity of the students is certainly a highlight, but also just the staff I work with. Like the level of English in Japan is quite low, but it really doesn't stop the other teachers from trying to communicate with me. They're just so kind. I just like come into work and they leave me little like presents on my desk, and they're always just like, you can see them Google translating what they want to say to me, and then they come over and they're like, Kato sensei. So they're just really lovely and make such an effort to be kind and inclusive, despite the language barrier. So that's been really nice. Yeah, everything's just really lovely. The schools are brilliant here. They have such amazing resources. They take their like sports and everything so seriously. The sports day is like a national holiday, which is crazy here. And so if you're into any like activities like that, it's certainly a good place to come to. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. So obviously you kind of already touched on what your average day would look like your hours of working and stuff. And is there anything out of the ordinary that you'd say like, oh, that you mightn't expect that into your day to day, or is it all very straightforward? You just have your Monday to Friday.
It's pretty straightforward. They give you your yearly schedule like at the beginning, so I know like already my holidays and stuff, which I was really pleasantly surprised with. I have about I think over a month off for summer and then like 2 weeks off for Christmas. And Christmas here isn't a national holiday, so I was kind of anticipating having to work for it. But the company I'm with have very kindly given it to me as a holiday. So definitely there's a lot more free time than I expected, which is really nice because there's just so much to do here. And yeah, it's really the finishing hour is really nice as well because you actually have a whole evening to yourself. And like finishing at 3:20 means you can basically I can go into Tokyo and enjoy my evening there, or I can go, I don't know, read my book in a park or make a nice dinner, meet friends or whatever. And you feel like you have a social life as well as a working life.
Fantastic, very good. So out of everything, because obviously you have said so many lovely things already about your program, is there anything that would be your absolute favorite thing about the whole program, and obviously the reason why someone else should do it as well?
It's basically just like a really supported way of moving abroad and traveling. Because I wouldn't really have known where to start otherwise. Like, I've heard of there being like job forums and stuff like that, but I'd say there's just so much there that it's hard to find direction. So I really enjoyed the support both from TEFL and the partners. We had a training week as well at the start, so I felt very equipped going into the classroom. I didn't feel like I hadn't a clue what I was doing, and I was also able to make friends through that, which is really nice. Because I came here on my own and I don't really know anyone in Japan, and I'm also encouraging to take up Japanese classes, which I've done, and there's just so much to do here. They even have a Japanese GA team, which is a lovely way to meet Irish people. I didn't realize it existed either, but everything is just brilliant, so I couldn't recommend it more.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that as well, Kate. And like I said, we are pressing for time, so we're on schedule still, which is great, but we want to have some time for the questions at the end. So we're next up going to move to Ashley Rose, and then lastly, Katie has joined us, obviously, which you might have noticed she'll be speaking about South Korea in more detail at the end. So Ashley Rose is on our 4.5-month Thailand program. So this program is like a 4.5-month program that we run kind of every year. So it is a recurring one as well, very popular. The average salary on this program, you'd generally be looking around €780 to €885. We again have the TEFL training included in the program as well. There is a 3-day welcome orientation in Bangkok before you actually go off to the location where you'll be teaching. Accommodation assistance again is included, and there's an option to extend your program or your contract as well, which is always great as well to have. For this particular program, the age restriction is between 21 years of age to 45 years of age. A native English speaker is a requirement, as well as the passport holder is same as the other programs. So all UK, Ireland, USA, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, etc. Now with this, we do sometimes accept European passports as well, but we just ask you to get in touch with one of our advisors if this is the case, because they'll be able to, either me or my colleagues will be able to explain to you what exactly the proceedings are with that. Then a bachelor's degree again is required, as well as the academic results, and again being healthy and having no criminal record. So Ashley Rose, obviously I kind of said actually at the start that people may have seen you obviously on social media, as you are very, very good for sending us pictures with all your lovely adventures. But yeah, you are, I believe you're after completing the program, is that right?
Yeah, I just finished end of February there. So I'm actually currently in the Philippines now. And I chose this backdrop just to kind of suit the vibe, because that's honestly what the Philippines looks like. But it's lovely being back here. Thank you for having me. And I can't believe I'm a month finished. Like, I honestly feels like yesterday when I landed in Bangkok with my boyfriend and we started the orientation. And like, I remember we were both so nervous, because I was nervous naturally starting a new job. And then Sean has never taught before, never set foot inside a classroom, and since he was there himself studying. So we were both nervous, but we met loads of people at the orientation in a similar position to us, that never traveled before, never done teaching. And yeah, we all just kind of got to know each other, made friends, exchanged numbers, and supported each other then throughout the 4.5 months that we were there. And yeah, so like I said, I landed in with my boyfriend. He was teaching maths through English and I was teaching English. We were we were based in a government primary school in a city called Udon Thani. So that's basically, it's on the border of Laos there, in the Isan region. So you'll get it. We found a lot of our teaching friends were based in the Isan region because it was a lot more rural and there's not as much English spoken in those areas. So I suppose for any of you thinking, oh, it's going to be Bangkok and it might be more glam, like you are put in rural areas, you know, for the purpose of helping those communities build their English. But they're absolutely beautiful, and I wouldn't change the area for the world. We had an absolute ball. Our city was small, but the people were just incredible. They were so friendly, welcoming, very generous with, you know, their food, their recommendations. They're even inviting us along to different parties. They were just amazing. The teachers were very good to us when we were settling in. You know, there was no big expectation. The main thing was that we were to be in the classroom as much as we can and just to have fun, which was like a big whirlwind for me because I'm a teacher back home. And like, you know, back home, it's very structured in Ireland and it's very paperwork driven and everything has to be documented and everything is very formal. But what I found about Thailand was there wasn't one day in that classroom where I didn't laugh, you know, with the kids. And you just come down to their level. Like Shannon said, it's very, you do a lot of games. It's, you know, it's all about, like, the sillier you are, the more you make mistakes, the more the kids love it. You know, they're more like your friends than your students, which is just such a lovely experience for me. And yeah, I had a bit of competition too with Sean because the girls, the little primary school girls took a shine to him. I think his bag was full of love letters and notes and hearts before he left, which was just amazing. Yeah. So I'm hopping from different things there, but I hope you're getting the gist of life there.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And what was life like that on your day to day? What were your hours kind of like and stuff on the program?
So we started school. School ran from 7:30 in the morning to 3:30, but you didn't actually start teaching till 8:30 because in Thailand that hour in the morning is dedicated to a morning assembly, morning talk, and also like gate duty, where like you might be asked to stand at the gate and greet students and their families before they enter school. And like that, you might do one day a week from 7:30 to 8:30. After gate duty, then you go to your morning assembly. They stand for the national anthem as well. It's a lovely kind of, you think it's boring and it's a drag every day, but for us, we found it, God, it's so lovely to just slow down and actually like take this in the morning before starting your school day. So then the day started at 8:30 and you might have 3 or 4 lessons a day. Some days I had 3, so I'd have 2 in the morning and then 1 after lunch, and we got an hour for lunch as well, same as Kate. So that was really nice. You could leave the school, you could go for a coffee, or you could go across the road to just street food, and there was so much selection and so many gorgeous fruit stalls as well. Oh my God, if I could bring my little fruit lady home with me, I would. I think I fueled her business for the 4 months I was there. So school finished then at 3:30 in the evening was your own. You had so much time. Like I joined a gym, and I made so many friends there. So you could go to the gym. There was a mall in our little city. We were living right beside a beautiful park that had like a lovely lake in the middle. You could go rowing on, or you could get a massage for like €4, and like more and more street food there. So there was just so much to do. And then other days you just want to chill out, you know, and if you had certain lessons that you were excited for, I always find if I'm excited for a class, I'll do a little bit of prep the night before just so I'm ready to go. But like the girl said, like there was very little lesson planning to be done outside of school, like because we had windows in between classes to lesson plan. So it was perfect. I was actually giving out to my boyfriend because he was the whole time on his phone bloody looking at like funny videos, and I was like, oh my God, come on, you need to plan. But he was just so easygoing about it. It wasn't hard to plan. It was easy. You were following a curriculum that was provided to you. We had books for maths, English, science. We had CDs to accompany it. And then I just ran off the topics there. So, you might have a topic on food, or you might have one on travel, family. And yeah, there was just there's so much to do with those topics, you know, when you scour the internet and then when you bounce ideas off each other, and even the friends you've made at orientation, like you exchange contacts and you're like, guys, did anybody do, you know, a quiz on clothing or something like that? Can you give me any games? The planning is very straightforward. Once you get into it, give yourself the first 2 weeks just to get a feel for it, and then it just flows very naturally.
Very good, very good. And what would you say was the most enjoyable part about the teaching there in Thailand? Was there it was obviously not your first experience teaching, but obviously there would be a big difference between. So was there anything that stood out?
It has to be back to the kids again. Like every time we'd finish our lessons and they'd come down to the office and they'd come in for a chat, and they were just so funny. I'd have, like Kate said there, I'd have little love notes and cookies or muffins on my table. A big thing was they're big on celebrations. So like Loi Krathong was a big celebration in November where it's kind of like a very ceremonial celebration in Thailand where they send little, krathongs, which is floating vessels made out of banana leaves and flowers. And there was just the whole communities gathered together. That was celebrated in school as well. And yeah, they just, like, all lessons are cancelled and everybody is just involved in this ceremony, you know, no more than Christmas. Like Christmas ran for a full week. We were dressed up in Santa outfits. I never seen so many Santa outfits in my whole life, especially in like a Buddhist country. It was hilarious. But that was great, and it's those ceremonies. Another one was Sports Day as well. Sports Day ran for a week, and it started with a big parade at the start of the week, and it ended with a finishing ceremony. And it's like your lessons are cancelled, but you're just playing with the children. Like you're just talking to them, you're having lunch with them, you're dancing with them, playing sports. It's amazing. Like it's nothing like I've ever seen before, and it was a really good experience like that, because it's not like that in Ireland. Like it's very much the teachers are in their staff room and the kids are in their classroom or whatever around the yard, and the play is not there. You know, it's the conversation, the general conversation, the fun conversation is not there. So definitely that was my favorite part, just getting involved in whatever celebrations they had to offer, and and having fun with the kids.
That's amazing. That's very good. And I obviously want to give you one last question before we do move on to our lovely Katie for South Korea, just because, like I said, it's a very bumful program. So what would you recommend this program to anyone else, and why, basically?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend the internship in Thailand. Firstly, because it's only 4 months long, so it's a great window. You can do anything for 4 months. That's the way we looked at it. So if you like it, you can extend, and you actually get a bonus if you extend. You get a bonus of 10,000 baht if you do the extension. But if you don't, you can move on. You know, so it's great. And then, like that, Thailand is even more beautiful in person than it is on when you look at the pictures. And I'm like you, Annalise, I'm a big foodie. The cuisine in Thailand is just like, it's not like a green and red Thai curry. Like it's way more varied and, exotic. And then the weather, like it's lovely to be able to live in a hot climate, so you've got the weather on your side, and to back up again what Shannon said, you've got the work-life balance. Like it's just lovely hours. Your weekends are your own. And there's so many incredible places to visit on your weekends. You can even get a train to the next neighbouring city. Even if it's a 6-hour bus ride, you do it because the locals do it. It's the norm. It's not like, oh my God, I couldn't, if we say going from like Athlone to Cork is 4.5 hours back home, it's a drag. But in Thailand, you'll do a 6-hour bus journey to get to that beautiful village on the other side, so I'd recommend it so much. And even if you're going on your own, do it, because there's so many people in the same boat as you, and you're going to meet so many friends. It's even if you don't meet English speaking friends, that I still have a WhatsApp group with my Thai gym friends. I was laughing with Sean. My going away party in Thailand was bigger than my going away party in Ireland. Like it was no joke. I couldn't believe it. Like my heart was just so full after it all. So definitely, just if you're nervous about it, go for it. It's the best experience you'll ever do.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that, Ashley Rose. And obviously, we love seeing all your content, because I believe the banana boats that you were talking about earlier, the banana leaf boats, they were uploaded at some point, I think, as well, when that was happening. So absolutely. We've been loving living your life through your Instagram, really, to be honest. So, okay, next up. So last but definitely not least, we're moving on to our lovely Katie, who has also been on a webinar with us before. So she is in South Korea, so she was only fresh there the first time she was on a webinar with us, but she definitely surely has some more experience now and some more stories to tell to us. So this program again is a 12-month program as well. So this salary generally ranges from 1,500 euros to 1,730 euros per month. There was a culture course included as well. Once you signed up to the program, there was a 1 week orientation and on arrival, and 2 continuous professional development orientations in the year as well. You can either teach in a public or a private school. There's a one-way flight reimbursement and an end of contract bonus, which would be equivalent to a month's salary. There's a rent-free accommodation, as Shannon kind of touched on at the start. There's no cost on that. There is an option to renew your contract as well, and the school would cover 50% of your medical insurance as well. So for this program, our partners would like the applicants to be within 21 and 35 years of age. They have to be a native or fluent English speaker with a high level of English if they are only fluent. Have to have a passport from Ireland, UK, USA, Canada, South Africa, Australia, or New Zealand as the other ones. A bachelor's degree would need to be from one of the 7 countries mentioned. Then a criminal background would need to be done as well on all countries lived on ever. Basically, a clean bill of health, mental and physical health, and you have to be obviously available for the minimum of the 1 year. I do see a few questions, and I know that some of them might be related to this, but I do feel like we can get back to them just after Katie has told us all about her experience. So Katie, how is your experience going now since we last spoke?
I know it's been a year since I was on last year. Yeah, because so it's April now. I came in February of last year, 12th February last year. I left Ireland.
Crazy.
Fastest 14 months of my life. Yes. Now, as you heard, I came in February of last year, which meant I came full COVID, lockdowns, restrictions. It was like coming through an apocalypse movie in Incheon Airport. I stepped off the airplane in Incheon at 3:30 on the Sunday afternoon. I got to my apartment 14 hours later, 3 hours away by car. Normally it took me 14 hours through quarantine. So if that trip alone wasn't keeping me here, the food and everything else did. I suppose a little bit about myself. I actually trained to be I'm a classically trained chef from CIT. I did that when I left school. I went to university to become a chef. I have a culinary business degree. I was an interior designer for another 4 years. I'm a teacher. You can tell I didn't know what I wanted to do. But no, I kind of came across TEFL Ireland. I have always lived by the motto that what is for you doesn't pass you. That's kind of always been something I've stuck with my whole life. I actually wanted to be a music teacher when I was in school, but a very ill-timed injury to my right-hand side when I was in 5th year meant that I lost function on the right-hand side of my body. I can't play the piano anymore, and unfortunately you need piano to be a music teacher in Ireland. So I was kind of at a loss as to what to do. Chefing became something I did because of my dad, and then that led me to doing the business degree and so on and so forth. But wanting to be a music teacher, I was obsessed with all kinds of music. Heard a K-pop song one day that got me interested in listening to other K-pop songs on the internet, saw a video about a girl teaching in Korea, which then led me to looking into it. Started looking at TEFL courses, realized that a lot of the prices were coming up in pounds. Decided, TEFL.ie will give me my original on the website. First thing that popped up on the screen was the South Korea internship. I was like, if that's not a sign, now is the time to move. So yeah, I turned 30 last year in November, and that was like my big kicking point, was the fact that like, you're about to turn 30, do something. And do something you want to do. Like, I think COVID kind of showed a lot of us that we weren't happy with what we were doing. We were kind of just getting through things and just kind of settling into what we were like, what it was. But no, definitely wanting to be a teacher has always been something it was my calling, I think. And then it just got away from me for a little while. About a minute now, I'm going nowhere. Like I said, I've been here 14 months. I have zero plans on coming back to Ireland at all. Not even relatively, just at all. I'm going nowhere. I'm staying in Korea forever.
Very good. And are you teaching now in a private school or a public school? Just for
No, so
reference.
I teach Hagwan, which is
Yeah.
private school, but I teach private school evening. So basically my working day starts at 2 p.m. and I finish at 10 p.m. Hence why I was a touch late, because I literally finished work like 40 minutes ago.
Absolutely fine. We just very much appreciate you joining us and to be able to tell us a little bit about it, obviously. So obviously, like you said, you're working nights. So what would your normal day to day or your week kind of look like when you're teaching there?
So work Monday to Friday. Like I said, I start at 2 p.m. I finish at 10 p.m. And I know that for a lot of people, that might not be the biggest draw to things. Now you can teach, as Annalise was saying, that there is, was I public or private? If you teach public, you're guaranteed to be teaching in the morning. If you teach private, you have the option of private morning or private evening. I just happen to teach private evening. So like I said, I usually get to work about 10 to 2. I actually live at 1 minute, 15-second walk from my Hagwan. So it actually doesn't take me any time to get there.
Sure.
So yeah, I get there for about 10 to 2. I teach on average 4 classes a day. Some days I have 5 classes, some days I have 3 classes. It just kind of depends. And I teach elementary grades 4, 5, 6, and middle school 1, 2, and 3.
Very good, very good. So obviously now you're there for 14 months now, you said. So obviously you extended, I suppose, with the same school, or did you move to a different school when you did?
Oh no, absolutely the same school.
Very good.
I landed absolute gold with the school that I came here with, that I came to. Like I said, I turned 30 last year, and I had about a 2-week celebration of my birthday. It was ridiculous. Between like 2 dinners. My director's birthday was 2 weeks before mine. So the week in between ours, we had this massive Korean barbecue dinner where the boss paid for everybody to go out for dinner for both of us. And then I walked into a surprise party on the day of my birthday in school, and then all the kids got me gifts. My co-teachers got me gifts. I think we went for another dinner the weekend after for like just a private dinner. It went on for weeks, but the students are amazing. My co-teachers are phenomenal. I honestly couldn't have gotten a nicer group of people, location, school, everything. It's been the best decision of my life coming here.
Amazing, amazing. And like obviously now you're a little bit further down the line, but do you remember what it was like when you first came over? Like what was the first few months like for you?
So the company that I signed for, I kind of took a risk because in Korea, if you choose to work through the public school system, you get 0 to no preference, and you can preference your location, but you don't get any like full 100% like pick of where you live if you go through the public school system. With the private system, you can preference your area. And when I got 2 job offers, I got one for Chungcheon, which is just outside of Seoul, and I got one for Busan, and I didn't even blink. I was like, Busan, that's the only one I went. Busan, I don't care. I don't care what time the hours are. 2 a.m, it's fine. I want to go to Busan. So like I said, I wanted to come to Busan. That was the biggest draw for me, I suppose, more than anything. Staying with the same school wasn't a no-brainer. Location was a no-brainer. The work itself is fine. And like for me personally, it's totally fine. Like my particular school does want lesson planning. I knew that when I started. There wasn't any hidden fees or figures in that or anything. Like I was told that, but because I had always wanted to be a teacher, I took it as a kind of a challenge. So I was like, yeah, look, let's see what it's like. It's fine. But when I started here last year, I actually was the only English teacher at an academy that had been open for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And I was the only English teacher there until July of last year. So when I got here, it was very much a case of we were all learning together, figuring out what we were doing, what way the lessons would go. Like we're part of a franchise that was in Seoul. It's quite big in Seoul. It's one of the biggest ones in Seoul. But we're one of their out of Seoul 10 locational franchises as part of it. So we had a basis of what to do, and it was kind of up to us then to implement it. But because I was there at the beginning, I suppose I was able to lay a few like groundings in the way I wanted to do certain things, and then nobody really questioned me on it because there was nobody else doing it, so it was great.
Very good, very good. So obviously I am very vigilant now on the time. So I just want to ask you the last question that I've asked everyone as well. Like, what did you love most about living? What do you love most about living in South Korea? And would you also recommend this program for other curious teachers, I suppose?
Yeah, like I said, with Korea, you have to do a bit of research into the whole private and public system. There's a ton of things that are pros and cons for both. So it's up to you as a person what you want to do. Me personally, once I got into the reading of it, I knew I didn't want to do the epic. I had really certain ideas of where I wanted to live and the type of schooling I wanted to be in. For me, I just love the culture here. As I mentioned, I'm a classically trained chef, so like anything food related here is just joyful for me. But I've made so many phenomenal friends here, and just in general, for me personally, the way of life here, where I live anyway, is very chilled. Like I live in a predominantly Korean area. Like I do live in Busan, and I live in an area of Busan where people from Korea come on vacation. So there's less English here than there would be in ordinary spots of Korea. But then again, I just think the pace of life here is incredible. There's a beach like 10 minutes behind me. So like I can get up in the morning, go and do what I want, or I can sleep in and just go to work. Suits me fine. Time difference with Ireland helps because we're 8 hours ahead. So
very good.
No, honest to God, jump at it. It's the best decision I've ever made.
Very good. I appreciate your honesty as well about like, oh, do your research to see like, oh, what suits you as a person, because I suppose that is something that's to consider for some people, I suppose. So I appreciate that very much, and thank you so much for telling about your experience with us as well. So I am going to go through a few questions that have been put in the chat box basically, and just for everyone involved as well. Obviously, we do always recommend to get in touch if you are interested in our programs, just to make sure that we can run through the requirements with each other and those kind of things. But we are also given an exclusive coupon code at the end of this webinar. So if someone is interested, obviously get in touch. And I will call out the coupon code later on in the webinar as well. So you can take €100 off the booking fees for anyone that wants to go on an adventure like our lovely interns have. So the first question here I see is, would you recommend going online first or jump straight into travel? So I'd actually love to ask that to Shannon, who has traveled to 2 countries. Like, did you do anything online first, or did you say travel first?
We personally just jumped into traveling first. We ended up having to do a bit online because of COVID, right? And I would say you're going to get way more experience. You're going to find your feet a lot faster when you're in it. So if you just jump into it, plus you get the perks of experiencing the culture of the place that you're in, where if you're online and you're teaching, you're kind of getting half of it. Like it's still a wonderful experience, but if you're going to do teaching English as a foreign language, you should go and experience the full experience of it. And it's a lot easier as well to build a relationship with your students when you're in person than when trying to do it online, especially when you're teaching the young ones. It's very hard to keep them interested in a computer screen. So I recommend jumping right in and doing an actual travel teaching experience, but it's on your own personal preference as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for that. So I am moving on to Edmund there, who asked about any advice about teaching in Asia without a degree. Obviously, the programs that we just spoke about today do require you to have a degree. We do have a different program. Unfortunately, we don't have a speaker for it today, but we have our Cambodia program. So if you are interested in going to Asia on an internship program, we have our Cambodia program, which again is a 12-month program as well, where we don't require you to have a bachelor's degree. Do keep in mind the bachelor's degree is generally related to visa requirements. So it's not necessarily like the TEFL needs it. It's for you to actually get into the country as such. But if you're interested in it, again, feel free to get in touch with our head offices. You can email us, call us, look on our website, and there's a contact form there as well. And my colleague will be putting in our email addresses there as well for you to contact us whenever you want. So then there is the next question about monthly allowances ranges for paid internship. how are these determined? So this is actually something that is determined by our partners, and it can vary depending on someone's previous experience or location where exactly you're placed, because obviously some areas might be wealthier than other areas, those kind of things, but it generally goes hand in hand. And then we have a lovely question for Ashley Rose, where the question is the salary in Thailand enough to live comfortable life on?
Yeah, so great question. It's definitely enough to live comfortably. It's actually probably enough to live a very glamorous life in my experience. You know, you could, I think if you weren't kind of going and doing events every weekend, you could live on €50 a week easily. In Thailand, cooking is not really a thing. They always go out for street food. There's street food everywhere. You can get it as a takeaway, or you can just sit and eat it there at the street markets. But the street food is very cheap. At the start, I had my own cooker and I was doing a lot of cooking because I love cooking from home. But I found I was actually spending too much money buying stuff from the supermarket to cook myself. It was just easier to go out. And like that, the TEFL and the partner in Thailand, they sort your accommodation for you, and you get an accommodation allowance. So it's 3,000 baht per person, which I think, does that work out maybe, Annalise, about 250 euro a month? I'm not even too sure what that is a month.
Yeah,
yeah,
thereabouts, yeah.
So, I mean, that's your accommodation allowance. Because I was obviously traveling with my boyfriend, we had the option of looking for our own accommodation for a bit more space, because we had 2 allowances coming in, so 6,000 baht between us, which meant we got accommodation for 7,000 baht a month. So we only actually had to put 500 baht towards it each, you know. So it was brilliant. And like that, we were doing something every weekend. Like, I was exhausted because there's so many cool things to do, but we made a promise to each other that, like, we're traveling the world together. We're making money as we're traveling, and we're going to spend it and enjoy ourselves while we're there, because why not? You know, what would we be? You know, we didn't really need to save it for anything in particular. We had an absolutely amazing, glamorous New Year's Eve in Bangkok in a fabulous rooftop bar. And it was just great. I don't regret anything. I didn't actually, you could save, you could live a very kind of convenient life, saving and just going to school, having the very cheap street food, and having a really quiet few weekends, and that's absolutely fine. We did that the odd time. And some of my friends did save money. Some of them are gone to India now and they're traveling. But as I said, we were just loving everything about Thailand. So we were spending money as we were making it, and it was really lovely. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Thank you for that. So we are moving on then for the next question. It's just for someone that has all the qualifications or is meeting all the requirements as such, and would it be possible to get declined? It is generally a slim to none question, but or a slim to none chance that you don't get accepted. But again, if you're unsure or anything like that, this is also why we ask you to kind of reach out to us first, and we can kind of go through it and make sure that you would be a good fit. Obviously, we've had a lot of people that we have placed successfully, so we kind of know what our partners are looking for. So just always get in touch and we'll be able to help you out. The next one, Yushi, we are actually in touch. I know that we are. So you are asking about your Indian nationality. So obviously we have kind of been speaking about this. We do have a program where we could fit you for. So we do have our Thailand volunteering program, which is actually a little bit different from what Ashley Rose was on, but we'll have a chat about that still as well. If you already have 120 hour TEFL certificate, is the price of an internship program the same? So get in touch with us. Again, so it kind of can depend if you are with us qualified, etc. So we just want to double check that it is a qualification that is accepted by our partners, etc. So get in touch about that again as well. And how do you curb the fear of leaving a stable job for a career in TEFL? So I kind of want to ask Kate this question. How did you kind of find your, I suppose, the courage to just jump into it and travel abroad? Obviously, you jumped into a new career, Kate. So what would you say to it? How do you curb the fear?
Sorry, is it me or Kate?
Kate. Sorry, you. Yeah.
I never really had too much of a fear, to be honest. I was just so excited. I mean, I guess in the weeks like coming up to actually leaving, because I was going on my own, I did start to get a little bit nervous about things like, oh, what if I don't know, what if I don't like it, or what if I make no friends and stuff. But at the end of the day, they're always just like irrational fears. Everyone makes friends. Everyone is fine after a while. Everything works out. So I'd say if you have any sort of a temptation, just go for it, because the worst that happens is you just go home and at least you can say you tried. Like, so you're not, if you hate it, you're not bound to stay. You just have to give your company notice, and that's the worst that can happen. But like, I doubt many people ever do that, because most people end up having the most wonderful life-changing experience. So I'd say just go for it and just kind of commit yourself to it. Start telling people you want to do it, and then that way you're kind of like, okay, this is becoming a bit more real. But yeah, just go for it. I think if you have that temptation.
You're kind of saying build your support system even from your home front as well, to like people get excited for you, is basically what you're saying, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if you, I find for myself anyway, if I tell people I'm doing something, I'm kind of more like encouraged to do it, because then I'm like, okay, well, I kind of, not that I have to do it then, but I've sort of, you know, started to trace out that path for myself. But yeah, definitely have a support system wherever you go. That's really important.
Very good, perfect.
I
So
can, if I can actually just jump in there really
yes,
quickly, I can completely relate to that question. I had myself and my partner had that fear before we left Ireland. You know, like Sean was a manager in an accounting firm, and I had a primary school job set to go for the following year again. And we were both really nervous. All of our friends back home are very career driven, and they're starting to buy houses, and we were like, oh, what are we doing? You know, we're settling for way less pay, for, you know, is it worth it? But like Kate said, it's absolutely, you know, it's a life-changing experience. And if you don't like it like that, you can always go back home. But I can assure you that you're going to learn something, and that's something, that experience will stand to you in whatever you do in life. And there's always job opportunities. People retire every day. People change careers themselves. So like, I feel like when you're in your own country, it seems so small and so, like, you know, dangerous to kind of step outside your comfort zone. But I mean, like that, if you just try it, you know, what's the worst that can happen? If you don't like it, you have your support system to come home to, you know. So sorry, I just, that kind of related, that resonated with me at the last.
very good. No, and thank you for jumping in on that as well, actually, to get never hurts to have a little bit more input on it again. So I know we are actually at the time, so I just want to fly through the last two questions that are there still. So there's one actually for Katie there, just about if you were able to set your preference, if you wanted to go public or, I can't actually pronounce it, private school.
I go on, yeah.
Yeah, Egwa, thank you. Were you able to set the preference, or was it, because obviously you said it's easier to go this way, but
It's far easier to do Hagwon. Absolutely 100% far easier, because technically what Hagwon is a private company is hiring you to teach English. With the public school, technically the public school is done through a thing called EPIK, which is the English program in Korea, and you have to interview for EPIK. Now the coordinators and TEFL and everybody helps you prep for the interview and everything else like that, but EPIK has very particular requirements. They have particular things they want from you. You do have to submit a template of a lesson plan. And a tip for anybody who is planning to do EPIK, again, with EPIK, you don't get a choice in location. You also don't get a choice in the level you teach. Gear your lesson plan towards the level you would like to teach. This is the template lesson plan that you submit as part of your interview package. Now, like I said, I don't do EPIK. I have friends have done EPIK, so I kind of just poke their brains about like the way it works. And basically, during the interview process, you might be asked to teach for like part of your lesson plan for a few minutes. So what happens then is, if you make it through all the interviews and you get here and all the rest of it, when they are placing you, the chances are they will likely go back to your application to see what levels you were kind of gearing your lesson planning towards. But with the publics, that's with the public schools, but with the private schools, it is very much a case of just having the TEFL, having the requirements to get the visa, and putting your best foot forward when you're doing the interviews. Really get engaged with it. I am from Cork. I speak super fast. I have slowed down a ton. I'm probably still too fast, but just talk like you're talking to 2-year-olds, even when you're speaking to the older people and the adults in your interviews. Just talk like you're talking to 2-year-olds, and just make sure that your alliteration and your pronunciation is great, because that was the only fee. I went for one interview and it was totally fine. And then the second interview, the feedback was that they couldn't understand me at all. And then I got the third and fourth interviews then were the two job options that I got, and the first one too. So I got the three. They were kind of the three of them, but because it was Busan, it was like, yeah, Busan.
Perfect. Very good. Very good. And I see, thank you, Kate, as well. Actually, I've seen that you responded to the question as well. That yes, you can set your preference for a private versus public with you as well, which is, thank you for that. So the last and final question, and obviously then I'm going to give the little coupon code and say thank you to everyone. So that this last one is still for Shannon for Vietnam with relation to finding accommodation. Was that any hassle? Was it easy enough? Was it straightforward? How did that go?
It was ridiculously easy. And so obviously we were really worried about that because we don't speak Vietnamese. It's different currency. And in Korea, we were given an apartment from our school, so we didn't have to worry about accommodation. But in Vietnam, it was completely up to us. And within 3 days, we had been put in touch with realtors, we had seen apartments, and we had signed a lease and moved in.
Perfect.
3 days. So it happens super fast. There's a million options. The partners were able to help us with looking for accommodation. Our school gave us a realtor's information, and we actually found our apartment by just walking into an apartment building and asking, do you have any apartments? And they were like, oh yeah, here's the manager. And we texted her. She set us up with a bunch of viewings for the next day. The biggest thing is the deposit money. They will ask you for 2 months deposit, 1 month rent, which is ridiculous. It's so much, but you don't have to do that. You can ask to split it up, because that really freaked us out at first. We were like, we don't have that much cash on us. You know, we just spent all this money moving over here. But we were able to split that up, no problem. And then we just pay our landlord directly every month, and it's no problem at all. We have a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in an amazing building. We love it. So it's super easy. Would not worry about it at all.
That's perfect. Thank you ever so much. So thank you to everyone, by the way, everyone, for all 4 of you for taking your time out and explaining some bit about the program that you've done with us and stuff, and give your experiences. We really, really appreciate it. This is exactly what everyone wants to find out, which is also why I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And last but not least, obviously, like I explained, so we do have requirements for our programs, which is something that are set by our partners. So it's something that is just easiest to have a conversation about. So anyone that has been here today, if you're interested, get in touch with us. You can contact on the live chat if you want. You can request a callback directly on the website. We are happy to help. But obviously for the ones that are meeting the requirements and are interested in setting up or booking on, you can actually take €100 off by using the coupon code Asia100 in the checkout. So my colleague just put it in the chat there for me as well, which is ideal. So like I said, don't be shy, get in touch with us. We are happy to talk you through the programs as well. Thank you again to the 4 of you. This will, like I said, this webinar is recorded, so it will be going onto YouTube as well for future reference. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Annalise, for having us.
Yeah,
No
thank you
problem.
so much. And good luck to everyone.
Best of luck, everyone.
Yeah, and like from doing this last year, just for anyone out there, I answer questions on Instagram all the time. The amount of people who come at us on like from last year, even that like send me messages to like, TEFL sent me the link to the video. You were the South Korea person last year. Can I ask you questions? And it goes on for like 3 days. So that's no problem. It's very simple. It's Irish Katie in Korea, all one word. You'll find me there. If you have any questions about Korea, I'm happy to answer the questions.
You might be regretting that decision, Katie. I'll be on to you straight away.
I'm no problem.
You're after selling it to me now.
Honest to God, I get about 2 people every month through TEFL that send me a message asking me questions about it. So I've zero, like I said, I'm never leaving. So if anyone wants to come here and visit me, I'm here.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Have a lovely rest of your evenings. For most of you late in the evening now. So thank you again, and we'll be in touch.
Bye bye, Slán.
Bye.